Welcome to the Barker Podcast Collection.
I suck, you suck, I suck at Call of Duty.
Welcome to the Not Playing Podcast. My name's Rob Howard, and today I'm joined by
Marcus Hurley
and Will. Okay, it's been a little while since we last recorded, but we've definitely played a few games in that time, and actually games from 2019. In the interest of being current, I think we'll kick off with Jedi Fallen Order, which I've been playing. I was, just to give you a bit of background, long-term listeners will know I was a little bit miffed when EA cancelled their long-in-development single-player Star Wars game. That's all I really wanted. To me, Star Wars is a franchise about stories, about the Force and all of that context, not just a skin for fucking Battlefield. So,
No.
yeah, so I was really interested in Jedi Fallen Order. I've really enjoyed Respawn, who have created this game for EA. I've really enjoyed their previous efforts with Titanfall and Titanfall 2 and the single-player campaign of that game, Titanfall 2. So I had high hopes for this. However, all the stuff I'd seen at E3 looked to me a little generic, to be honest. And so I was definitely not pre-ordering the game. However, on the day of release, for that was the embargo, the reviews were pretty good. So I thought I would dive in. And yeah, overall, I'm really enjoying it. I've spent probably about 4 or 5 hours with it, I think, over the weekend. And so far, I've been having a lot of fun. It's a lot more exploration-based than I expected it to be. And the combat is very Dark Souls, as we were led to believe. So for me, it really is just that perfect melding of a killer franchise and two pillar AAA action games. So yeah, that's what I think.
I must admit, the reviews look strong. It's not one I've picked up yet because I'm still on the Outer Worlds, which I'm sure we'll cover shortly. Story-wise, is it a good, proper Star Wars-esque, uplifting hero-type story?
Yeah, well, you play as, I forget the name of the character anyway.
Kyle?
He's a ginger chap. Yeah, it's like Cal something or other.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Drogo.
he's basically a Jedi. This is set after Order 66 is decreed in Revenge of the Sith. And so the Jedi are all scattered to the winds and or in hiding. And so he's been basically sort of hiding on this big junk planet, which is great. And it starts off and you're sort of seeing all these huge ships just being torn to pieces in the background in these big skyboxes while you're kind of shimmying around, getting used to the controls. But then these Inquisitors show up, the jig is up, and all of a sudden you have to flee the fuck out of there. And the opening mission suddenly turns into quite a sort of roller coaster, sort of like about halfway through it, Uncharted 2, when you're on trains, jumping off things, hanging off bits of scenery that are crumbling and leaping away and all this sort of thing.
That's the set piecey type stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So a little bit on rails, the first bit there. And then all of a sudden, you're sort of rescued and you embark upon a quest to try and restore the Jedi Order. We know how that ends, but, but you kind of have to just, I don't know, suspend your disbelief really to get on with it.
Yeah.
And then after that, you find yourself bodding around a series of different planets. I understand there's only about 5 or 6 in total, but every time, I think my understanding is that as you revisit these planets, your abilities unlock areas that you previously couldn't get to. So I'm okay. On the you start off with the ability to hold enemies in place for a short amount of time, and you can extend
like
that.
A force cuddle sort of thing.
like a force grip sort of thing. And then you get the ability to wall run, I think on the second planet, which allows you to get to some places that were previously out of reach. And these revelations occur to you in the form of like mini flashbacks with your old Jedi master that you just flash back to and sort of teaches you as you go. And then on the third planet that I've visited, I've now unlocked the ability to force push, which has involved some like sort of physics-based puzzles as you're trying to sort of maneuver these big globes around to unlock the scenery and allow you to get around the area. And all the while you're getting like bits of lore delivered to you via like holocrons and via your cool little droid. He'll like sort of show you messages that come up as you get to areas that are, relevant areas to sort of carry on the story. So I'm off to see the Wookiees next.
The wonderful Wookiees of Endor? No.
Kashyyyk.
Right.
Yeah. So, the combat's cool. But there's...
Like it.
There's 4 difficulty settings. I actually bumped it up because it actually shows you like the various sort of like in the more recent Tomb Raider game, it shows you what the difficulties actually do to various aspects of the gameplay. So I thought I'd just even the playing field and go up to Jedi Master. And so far it's proving quite a challenge, actually. You basically get like 2 little health shots in between meditations. When you meditate, that resets the level. So all the enemies respawn, which is what I understand is the case in Dark Souls.
Yeah, I read it's the bonfires.
It's like a bonfire sort of thing, yeah.
So you have to be a little bit tactical with that. Sometimes it's obvious when to do it. Sometimes you really need to do it, and you just have to bear with it. But yeah, basically, if you get killed, I think you have to go and attack the thing that killed you, and you get all your XP back then. So you do.
Yeah, that's the Souls element as well.
So you do eventually, get to recover any experience that you've lost, and also naturally, sort of, your skill raises as you get killed more and more. So, I'm really, really learning how to use that dodge button when I've got these enemies that just like to fucking charge straight at you. And as you get XP, you get to level up different skills. So you can choose health or the force, or, various upgrades.
I'm assuming you play like the way I do, which is always fuck health, I want to make damage, right?
Actually, no. I generally tend to respond to how the game is treating me. So in this case, I found that I was dying a little more than I wanted to. So I did actually go health. But I didn't go health first. I did enhance one of my lightsaber abilities first. Then I went health. And then I went force, actually. So I'm quite glad because now I've got to a point where my understanding of the force has unlocked all these extra abilities. I think it's just because I got to a certain level. And I'm now free to kind of go in whichever direction I like. So that's maybe not a bad little tip there, actually, if you want to have options, maximum options. Should you play it?
To be honest, I'm looking to pick it up probably a little bit later on in the year.
Yeah.
When I've got through a couple of games and stuff, because I did find it quite intriguing. I've been looking forward to a nice single player Star Wars story game for a while. My only interest in Battlefront Field Fence 2 was the single player story.
I'm sorry, Battle Fence 2, that well known.
Yeah. Well, it's just a skin. But I didn't go through with the purchase at the end. But my only interest in that was the story they were talking about for it, which I don't know whether it was any good or not. And it was like a follow-up to Return of the Jedi or something. Or maybe after the first film, where you played a stormtrooper after the Death Star explodes.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about the single-player content to Battlefront 1 or 2.
No, but that was what, Battlefront 2, that's what intrigued me. That was the only reason why I had a pre-order.
I think it was about 4 hours long.
Yeah, it wasn't really much at all. So that's why I was like, no, I'm out.
This is apparently...
But the idea of it intrigued me, and to see a full game like this with the Respawn guys. I'm kind of intrigued.
Yeah, there's no multiplayer to this. It's just a 20-hour long, roughly, single player game. It's almost like a throwback. It feels like this game shouldn't be able to exist in a way. Like, it's almost a miracle, that they allowed this to happen. Because I haven't played a game this indulgent and sort of, at first I thought it was quite linear, but as soon as you get onto the planets, there's very little hand holding. You can, if you're getting a little bit stuck, you can ask for a hint off the droid. But I've rarely encountered the need to do that.
Do you think it exists because it's mainly EA maybe making a decision they want a slice of the Dark Souls style pie? Because there have been quite a few games in the last couple of years that have come out using that form. You've had Neo, you've had, all the Dark Souls games, Bloodborne. You've had, what was it? Not Ghosts of Tsushima? No, the one where you die and resurrect again. Shadows Die.
Sekiro. Bless you.
Yeah, Sekiro.
Which I actually forgot about and I've re-added to my wish list in light of my enjoyment of this game.
I know. I want to play that. I really want to get that.
Yeah.
But I just think it's kind of like, it's almost like that genre has been cemented now as an acceptable alternative, as opposed to just being, this is game Dark Souls, where you'll just die over and over again.
The Soulsborne has become a genre, definitely. Agreed.
Yeah, it's become its own sort of option, and I think maybe they've just thought, we'd like to have a game in that class, which I don't really care what the decision was. It ended with a nice game for us.
What we have from the sound of it is a Soulsborne Metroidvania, so a combination of the 4 aspects there, or 2 dual aspects, but with lightsabers.
All nicely Star Wars.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Rob. I can't believe that this is coming out.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to be bloated.
Yeah. I half expected them to not realise they've released it.
I just was worried that they were going to rush this out and just shit it out to sort of appease the people that were complaining. But it looks like EA have actually, put their money where their mouth is, actually hired a decent amount of resource to get something out that's a pretty damn good quality game. I have to say there are moments like that I do notice the frame rate hitch a bit, but there is like a performance mode you can put on if you're not bothered about 4K. You really want that like 60 frames per second, but that is also an option in this game.
And that's PS Pro.
It's like prioritising frame rate,
isn't
it?
on PlayStation Pro, that you can get 60 frames out of it if you choose. But I've not found myself cheated enough. I've felt like most of the times I've died, it's been through my own inability to wield the Force properly.
Yeah, to be honest, I think that's very much a gamer's choice, isn't it? Whether you want the 1080 level of HD or the 4K, and pick the frame rate. Personally, I use a smaller monitor for gaming on my Pro. I've got a 4K monitor, but it's only a little, and so I'd probably go with the frame rate. But it's good to have that choice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I've only noticed it a couple of times because there are some quite fast bits because you'll be mantling around and you'll jump through an area and then you'll be sliding around and then have to leap up, grab a rope, jump onto a wall, walk along that, and like there can be like just a little bit of a hitch, but the levels are enormous, and in order to accommodate that kind of what's it called? That kind of locomotion, like that kind of traversal. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I really rate it. It's definitely one of the best things I played this year, but I haven't played that much,
awesome.
so make of that what you will.
Yeah, but aren't you glad this is one of them, though?
Yeah, I'm glad they nailed it. They absolutely nailed it, in my opinion. Any complaints at the moment are just minor quibbles, I think.
Sounds good.
To be honest, with any game, you're gonna have a certain element of gaming fatigue, which then annoys you, and you find something that you kind of think, oh well, this could have been better or whatever. But then, I don't think there is a perfect game.
But the thing is, with Star Wars, I think you had quite low expectations, or were doing your very best to manage them, and the fact that it's actually turned out to be a well-reviewed and decent game. If you'd expected the perfect game, you may have been disappointed, but coming into it hoping for something that's not shit and getting something above that, happy days.
Sounds way above it as well, though.
Yeah, definitely. I'm well happy. But speaking of quibbles, you've you've found a few with Outer Worlds since you've been playing it, haven't you, Will?
I can't decide. I've been playing it some more today. I've put quite a lot of time into it. It is a good game. So, for the background for those, so this is out of Obsidian Entertainment. It was created before they were purchased by Microsoft, but I think a sequel with the Microsoft funding behind it could be a genuinely fascinating thing. So what we have is a Bethesda style, and I think is the best way to describe it, first person RPG. I'm not going to say open world because it isn't. It's set in a number of planets with small zones, probably the best way to put it. They're kind of open world maps, but a collection of small ones turns out, even if they were stitched together, just aren't as much fun as one big place where you can go, what's over that mountain or what's behind there. Yeah. So this is
so
my
you
issue number
one.
One.
You think that counts against it then?
I do, actually, yeah. So you do a map. The maps are small, so you just cover everything in a map. There's very little reason to ever go back. Whereas...
Okay.
Let me start with the positives. So, it's fun. It is fun. The premise behind it is you are the... Sole survivor is the wrong term. You are a member of the crew or one of the new colonists sent through on a ship called the Hope, and that is out to colonize planets out in the outer worlds. Something's gone wrong. Everyone on the crew has been frozen, and you are unfrozen, defrosted, microwaved, however you want to put it, by a mad scientist who has picked you and you alone due to your special skills. And generally those special skills can be a background in vending machine repair, lift engineering, science laboratory assistant. It's lovely that they don't go, oh yes, rocket scientist, ballistic weapons manufacturer. No, it's literally janitor level stuff.
Yeah, I had so much joy just reading all those options. It's so like Red Dwarf sort of style, isn't it?
Very much so. So you come in and you're dumped on this planet and you have to go and build influence, skill yourself up and complete quests in a fairly Fallout, Skyrim style approach. You meet people, you talk to people around, you get quests, you learn things, you do things, you level up, you find new weapons, you find new armour, you have companions, and the companion system's pretty well done. And everything about it sounds perfect and exactly the game I want. But for some reason, it's just not sticking with me. I think I've been thinking on this a lot. So the game that is best compared with is Fallout. But one of the things in the Fallout universe is I find the survival stories that have come from our alternate reality, I can understand and appreciate and have more empathy with than the far-flung future where people are sent out, and this is all corporate-owned stuff. So I've a little bit of separation from it, and I think one of my main criticisms, the gunplay's good, the melee combat's rubbish, but the gunplay's really quite enjoyable. But the variety of weapons has not particularly changed from when I'm at level 28 or so, let's say. But I'm finding the same weapons. I found nothing new, weapon-wise, just upgraded versions of the same guns that you start with. Not at any point have I really gone, oh, that's a completely different, a game-changing item. The companion quests are all right. I've basically completed all of those. I think when I started off, what I was trying to do was do what I always do, which is complete every quest in the book because every quest is interesting. But I'm finding most of the side quests aren't particularly. The stories don't engage me. But now what I've done is I've started just really playing through the main quest, doing my companion side quests or whatever's to hand, but not caring about uncompleted quests. And I'm finding I'm less bored. I've got quite a nice character build. I'm a stealthy sniper type, going for the headshots, the criticals. I love the tactical time dilation, which is basically VATS, but really just go into slow-mo and pick your shots. You get extra critical damage. That stuff's all good. I play the sneaky charmer type. What I do enjoy is that your speech abilities really make a difference in quests, and having a high speech skill will also, for example, on the persuasion skill, if you shoot a human enemy, they're quite likely to cower in fear if you're particularly persuasive. Your intimidate skill, if you're fighting creatures, they're more likely to run away in terror. And with I think it's the lying skill will cause robots to attack other robots. So your speech skills not only are good for non-combat situations, they affect your combat as well. So that's pretty cool. It's a good game. It just needs a little bit more time, and I think more unique weapons, a proper open world. I dislike the hopping between planets to do quests. I like one big map, but there's some good humour in there. Nothing that's particularly made me ruffle. But yeah, it's a good RPG, but it's not scratching that itch, and I can't precisely define why.
Do you think I've spent a little bit of time with this game? I've kind of just got off the first world, so I can't pretend I bow to your better judgment, really, having spent more time with it. But do you think there just might not be quite enough game here for you, or to offer the same level of satisfaction as something like Fallout? That's kind of just a bigger game, Like I get the impression from everything I've heard, this is a slighter game than that.
I think it might be an element of that. I mean, what I was thinking, you get these companies, and the companies will give you quests, and you'll go up in their estimation, but maybe less Fallout, although there's elements with that in, the whole Brotherhood of Steel, or the various NCR type sites, or particularly when I think about the Elder Scrolls, and you join the Fighters Guild, or the Thieves Guild, or the Mages Guild, and you go through all these quest lines that feel almost as big as the main quest in Outer Worlds. I think it might literally be that. I can't lose myself in the game because the game's not quite big enough to get lost in. Maybe you got it there.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean,
it's not bad though.
Yeah, I was impressed with the writing overall. That's always been really strong. I think if Obsidian were like given like a series of fuck knows, like a TV show that we all like, they would make probably the best version of that TV show that we all like. They are peerless.
Oh, Obsidian's Batman.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like they are really good content deliverers.
Yes.
They don't really innovate, but they are excellent storytellers.
Yeah. Bearing in mind, not a few years ago, they were effectively getting games out there via Kickstarter. They've got this, they did that. They'd virtually come back from the dead. They got some games out through Kickstarter, got those well reviewed. They took a proper kicking back in the Fallout days. They got their own stuff up. They got this picked up by a publisher. They got it out the door. But now they've got Microsoft behind them. And I think this game has been enough of a success. It's got the same Metacritic rating as Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty incredible, really.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all. With Microsoft's money behind them, I think if and when they're ready to do a sequel, I think it will be a totally different game. And I think they will understand what they've done well, and they'll double down.
Do you think there'll be expansions to it to make the game bigger? Do you reckon? I don't want to speculate, but I just think. Do you think it was purposely this small?
I don't. I think there may have been an intention, but now they're owned by Microsoft.
Yeah.
Who would publish it? They can't publish expansions to a different publisher's game. So unless something's already done out there, I find it quite unlikely.
That's
purely business reasons.
I think there will be more, though. I mean, apparently this game has been a huge success, even though they were practically giving it away on Xbox Live Game Pass. Apparently it's done the numbers for them.
I think it's got a lot of subscriptions on Xbox Game Pass. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's like been a Stranger Things for them. But yeah, like my only real bugbear with the game so far is that it's just built on clearly old technology, which really showed its limitations when, like, I think I was at the end of a quest line and I just was trying to do the conversation thing and get the best outcome. And I was literally just like load screen, talk to person, okay, back, load screen, fast travel, talk to person, fast travel, load screen, talk to person, load screen, and I was doing that for about 20 minutes. I could have like avoided the load screens by walking everywhere, but I'd already walked back and forward like quite a few times. So maybe I just did the quest in the wrong order and I was tired and I don't know.
It is worth mentioning actually the supernova difficulty. So I've been playing it on hard. I started on normal and I found it just a bit too easy. So I've been playing it on hard. Most of my time spent with it on hard. I did start a game and I actually messaged you guys saying, I think this is how it's meant to be played. So supernova difficulty, you can't fast travel except back to your ship. So you do have to walk everywhere. But when they're relatively small maps, that's not a major problem. The real problem with supernova difficulty, and the only issue I have, is the permadeath of your companions. If they die,
Oh,
they die. There's no... So they can fall in battle, and there are a couple of ways to quickly revive them. But once they're proper dead, they're proper dead. Which I don't think actually will stop me. If I wanted to platinum the game, which I think I could, I would probably play through on that mode. But it is the sheer frustration of dying. On the supernova mode, you can't sleep outside of the ship. You get the hunger and thirst, but that's kind of cool because all of the food you find that I just sell, food and drink you use. But the real problem is it's very hard to just save. You can basically go in and out of a building, and that's where it saves. So if you've spent ages clearing up on the main map and then suddenly get slugged in the back of the head, you do what I do, presumably, which is swear, turn it off, and start a new game, not on that difficulty.
Sounds like an experience.
But it does, for the people with the patience, I think it's the roleplay way to play it, definitely.
cool. All right then. Well, me and Will have spoken quite a lot, but so we should probably hear from you, Marcus, and what you've been playing.
I've finally got around to a game that I was looking forward to at, I think this year's E3 or something, or maybe before then, I'm not sure, Devil May Cry 5, which I'm wondering as I've been playing this, why the flipping hell I didn't pick this up sooner. I think maybe because I didn't feel as though I was in that place, because as listeners will know, my gaming life kind of almost flatlined. You know, I wasn't really playing much and everything else, so it's taken me a while to kind of re-get that spark and that hunger and that urge again. And having chucked myself into this time sync game, a side effect of that is that I've actually gotten better at gaming again.
Way.
So, anyway, Devil May Cry 5. For those who don't know, yes, it's the fifth one in the series. There were 4 before by Capcom Japan, and there was one done by, I think, Platinum Studios. I think
No, it was
Ninja Theory.
Yeah, those guys. Yeah,
Ninja Theory. Yeah, they did a version
great
of the game,
studio,
which actually was a really good game. Only thing about it was that it took the character and the storyline and changed and did a one-off version of it. It had great combat, great mechanics, great music, great scenery, great game in general. It just annoyed a lot of fans because it wasn't the next game they were hoping, and then kind of killed the series. But yeah, it got announced this year's I think last year's E3 or something, and then the fifth one got announced and it's been released, and I picked it up for cheap, and I've been loving it.
So I've never played any of them that I recall.
To describe them, they are very much like a Bayonetta style hack and slash kind of game. They're not really like Soulsy. They are kind of like you enter an area and you have to defeat the enemies to progress through the area, and it does bring back that sort of gameplay style.
Points for combos type stuff?
Yeah,
that's all optional. If you want to do that,
right,
you can do that. You get like a little bit come up, because obviously being a Capcom game, and it kind of, you can choose to be as stylish as you want.
Arcades,
and if you really learn like the combination styles and all that, you can put together some pretty mental combos of just juggling enemies. But you can ignore that.
Rewarding.
You can
it's
ignore
quite rewarding if you explore that part of it, I find.
But you can just go through it, because at times I've just gone, no, I'm just going to shoot you in the face on the other side of the room. I'm
you can
quite
do
happy
that
to
as
shoot
well,
you in the face. I'll just shoot you in the face. Oh, you're dead now. Yay! But yeah, the fact that you're given a gun and sword combo and stuff, but this character's been given a game mechanic because of the way the plot was. He gets his arm pulled off by someone as part of the storyline, the opening storyline. So you basically have a robotic arm. And it allows you to do a series of moves. You either get like a flash stun effect, you can pull enemies towards you, you can pull yourself towards enemies. All sounds very familiar to games that have come out.
Indeed.
But To be honest, but then the variation is you get different types of arms that you could pick up as you're going around.
Oh.
So there's like different ones, and you got different skills.
That's
One
a bit
of
of
them,
an arms
actually,
race.
if you're in midair, yeah, literally.
Sorry.
Some of them are more useful towards the larger bosses. One of them fires a shockwave out, which when you use on the ground blasts the enemy away. But if you're in the air, allows you to kind of almost rocket jump.
Cool.
So you get like extra maneuverability. You can basically just keep blasting this arm in the air and fly it around the back of a boss and avoid like large attacks and stuff like that. So there's kind of like really good gameplay mechanics, and I was enjoying it, just sort of putting together little bits and pieces. And the way that the combat works is that you've got certain attacks where you pull back and away and stuff, but it's away from the opponent as opposed to generically back and whatever. So you have to be aware of which way you're facing. So there is a little bit of learning, but you can just...
And I'm kind of
accurate
assuming it being sort of a Japanesey fighting type game, the plot is utter nonsense.
Well, the plot does continue, and it's all about... Well, it starts off with these two brothers, and they are the sons of a demon king.
Yeah,
so it's very Japanese.
Who isn't these
one
days?
of them is a half... They're both half demons. Yeah, they're both half demon, and they're the sons of Sparta, and it's all about their legacy and people trying to take over and become the king of hell. And basically, Dante was the guy that stops them, and Virgil, his brother, has always been the eternal antagonist. And the games go through the story of... It's almost like going backwards in time, because the first enemy you fight is actually your brother Virgil, but you don't realise this until the third game. So it's kind of like it unravels the story as the games go on in reverse sequence, in a sense.
Do you need to have played the originals to...
No,
Fine.
not really. To be honest, you really, jumping into this, it doesn't matter one bit. You get a generic idea, it tells you at the start, it just fills in the blanks, then you just get on with it. The person who, I don't know if you remember the trailer, but there's like a woman that drives like a big A-Team style van, and she's constantly smoking cigarettes, and she's just like this really loud, obnoxious, over-the-top sort of character, but she would fit in kind of like a weird Fallout game, and a bit weird, and she like literally drives a van at demons and flips it round, and the kid gets out, starts shooting demons. She's like grabbing a cigarette out of midair, and then it kind of flips and lands and everything, and it's that kind of manic, over-the-top stuff, and it's just absolute bonkers fun. I was grinning like a bastard for a lot of it, thinking, this is really fun. It's really like over-the-top dialogue. You know, the guy is a big first boss is a big demon, and he throws an ambulance at the character Nero, and you see it come towards him, and it pauses just before, and the door at the side of the ambulance is there, and then it flips into the wall and smashes out, and he just gets out, and he goes, what? No chit-chat? No kiss? No bang-bang? And it's just like, it's that kind of shitty, taunting humour, and it's just, the dialogue is silly, but it's fun. It just adds to it. He's a cocky son of a bitch, and he knows it. And it's just a lot of fun, and it's really mental things you could do. Like, I discovered one of the arm actually shoots off and starts beating up the opponent. So you can fly off it and just watch it smacking around the face. And you get a charge up attack with it that breaks the arm, but it allows you to do like a proper devastating move. One of them is like a ridiculously oversized beam, and as he's charging it, he goes, it's time to give you a taste of the good shit. And this big stupid beam comes out, and it blows up the arm, so you have to like either, you get like a set of them stacked, and you increase your magazine of them as you pick them up, and you can go back and swap them around.
So you're stockpiling arms.
So it's kind of, it's an arms race, like you said earlier. But I haven't even got to whether there's different weapons and stuff as well. And there's another element of combat in which, obviously being Japanese and weird, his sword can be revved, which allows you to tap into other moves. So you've got like levels as well, which you unlock through collecting orbs and stuff, through killing creatures. So you can kind of rev it up, and as you do moves, you get like a extra flame element, or the move doubles or triples and stuff like that. So you can kind of, and then you can tie that into combat. So there is like a crazy amount of depth to it, and that's just the basic hack and slash. However, this surprised me. there is another character you play
Right.
called V, and this guy is the exact opposite of your typical main guy with gun and sword. He controls two demons, a sort of panther and a bird, and your job is to you don't actually have much physical ability to fight. You control these two creatures whilst trying not to get hit.
Okay.
So this is why, you know, I messaged you guys going, I can't believe they've done this. This is really mental. Like, I was thinking to myself, I would play a game with this character simply because it's combat in a way I've never experienced, in a kind of active way. You've got the bird, you attack aerial-wise. You can hold down buttons. You're almost like trying to keep your eye on two things at the same time whilst running around yourself trying not to get hit. But then once the enemy's reached a certain level, you have to run in and strike it with his cane, and that's the delivering finishing blow to kill the enemy.
Wow.
So it's almost like you're a general now, running around controlling two elements and then having to run in and do the finishing blow and then get out. And I've fought a couple of bosses with this character, and I'm thinking, I really like this, but I'm not looking forward to going back to the sword bloke because I've forgotten how to use him. But the story, it's just intriguing, and it's like he pulls out a book and starts reading poetry to build up his devil gauge, and he has like a gauge, and when it fills up, he summons his big golem, and it just starts going around the map smacking people up. And I'm just loving the feel of it, because they've based the city that you're in on sort of like a London UK feel. So, and it feels it. The architecture is very London-y. You've got an approximation of Piccadilly Circus in some way. You've got the ambulances and everything. Even like barrier signs. You know, you get American barriers are usually just steel. These are the orangey plastic ones that you would see at the side of the road. And like scaffolding, everything about it. It feels like East End London in a sense.
Cool.
So good combat nonsense storyline, and
I'm surprised considering how long it's been away. I would say fans of the game would love it, and anyone looking to kind of maybe try out the game, it's a good way of getting into it. As well, without having to worry about any of the others. Really.
Yeah, I put
and also at the start, the main character. Dante, who's the sort of poster boy of the series, he gets defeated, so you don't know what's happened to him. So you're not even playing as the main person from the series.
Okay, they've played with that before, though, I think.
Yeah.
I put round on the Game Dump group. I put round a list that Frill List had put together of the best games of the year, and that one's on there. So
yeah, it's amazing so far. And I've barely scratched the surface. I mean, with all of the others, the main character, whenever he defeated people, you would get different weapons that had different abilities and stuff. I'm imagining that with this, it will be the arms would be the main element that you would keep changing. Because as you kill more things, you take a remnant of it back to, can't remember her name, Nico, I think. And she basically crafts something new from it.
Cool. So that's like...
Yeah,
gives you upgrades and stuff.
I recommend it. I'm absolutely loving it. But
cool. Yeah. Also on that list is another game that I've been playing called Control, which is the new game from Remedy, who made Max Payne and Alan Wake, and also some other games that we probably don't need to mention. But yeah, this is a return to form, and you play as Jessie. You play as Jessie Fadden. And she is the new director of this Bureau of Control, which is a secret US government facility. It's all a bit X-Files and weird, and it involves you infiltrating the oldest house, which is the office of this agency. And you go around, and there's all these sort of there's like these presences that you have to defeat with telekinesis and a gun that you can kind of unlock different abilities of, and as you kind of wrestle control back, the sort of walls transform, and it's like remolds the building and stuff. It's pretty weird, but I've been enjoying it so far. They've really got the gameplay down, and I recommend it. It's pretty cool. I think it's gone under the radar a little bit just because there's been a lot out, but I recommend that. I also bought a Switch. finally.
Hey!
Hooray.
Yeah, so I'm part of the Switch Club, and before I mention any of the games I've been playing on my Switch, it's the Switch Lite, actually, I got in the end. Figured I'm probably only going to play it on the train, which so far has run true. But yeah, you've been playing a game on the Switch, haven't you, Will?
Oh, Goose Game. Yes, I did mention it when we recorded last. Untitled Goose Game, I think it's become a bit of a meme. A lot of people seem to have heard about it, even those outside of the gaming circles.
I think it's been a bit of a system seller, actually, from what I understand.
Okay.
Like, people have been buying Switches just to play this game.
Yeah, it's funny because it's on all the other platforms, but I suppose Switch is the friendly one. But yes, I played it on my commute. I had a lovely time. It was very much what I was expecting, which was the almost an homage to How to Be a Complete Bastard. The other thing I've seen it compared to is Hitman, which I kind of like because it's got those elements, but rather than find a way to send the victim through the roof using a rocket chair, it's steal the young boy's glasses, and you might to steal his glasses. The way I found was to sneak up behind him and undo his shoelaces, and then honk loudly so he ran away scared and tripped over his shoelaces, and then you pick his glasses up. But then there might be another challenge, which is make the boy wear a different pair of glasses, which is a similar principle, but you've got to shoplift a pair of glasses. Or on the young boy scenario, who you're really quite mean to be honest, make him buy his own stuff back and stealing his toy aeroplane and putting it down in the shop, so that when he goes to pick up his toy aeroplane, the shopkeeper says, basically, that's mine. And he's here by back. There's all sorts of things, and you just go into this gorgeous little sleepy English village, causing really low-grade mayhem. And I mean really low-grade. Nobody gets hurt. I think the closest to getting hurt is when you've got to make the groundskeeper hit his thumb. It's delightful. It's got a wonderful finish to it. And then extra quests. It's not a big game. I think I probably spent 5 hours on it. I didn't complete the full list. I did the list to be able to complete it the first time round. It gives you a set of post-credits challenges.
Challenges, yeah.
I think I'd had enough at that point. I may well go back to it and pick it up again and do it all again. But it was just a delightful change from my usual level of eviscerating people and monsters in the most violent ways I can find. It was a nice little puzzle.
I actually saw a car with a sticker, the honk if you're horny, and it actually had the goose on there.
Nice. I may see if I can get an Untitled Goose sticker for my van.
Yeah, I'm going to get it, but when I picked up my Switch, there was like a bit of a sale on, so I just kind of went into Steam sale mode and just kind of snagged everything that was on offer. So far, I've got the most recent games that I've got so far are My Friend Pedro and Katana Zero. So, My Friend Pedro is from those lovely people at Devolver.
Yes.
I think Katana Zero is
Katana Zero,
actually.
yeah. So I've played and completed Katana Zero twice now, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, love it. It's a good. It's a game I quite happily went back and did a second time round after a bit of a gap. Yeah, lovely game. Too short, but excellent.
Yeah, you know what? I picked it up. I think I started playing it on like Thursday or Friday night on the way home, and I started getting through it. And it's sort of like Hotline Miami, but like a platform
side-scrolling
version of that. Yeah, so you where the sort of premise is that you're as you go through the level, that's you planning it out, and then once you've actually successfully done that, it goes, oh yeah, that's what I did.
Yes,
and then it plays it like a replay of what you did.
Yeah.
But yeah, for some reason, I think I was just a bit tired or stupid or whatever, and I missed it. But when I picked it up the second time, I just pressed all the buttons to try and remember what was what, and I completely forgot that there's like a slowdown button.
Yes, that becomes quite important down the line.
Yeah, I noticed that definitely, because you need to like use your katana to flick bullets back.
Yes,
and let them strike, or get to a place and be able to throw all 4 items down the corridor so that all 4 guys running at you get impaled by cakes and plates or whatever you throw in.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I don't think it'll be too long before we see a sequel to that. I'm convinced it sold very well for whoever developed it, and the end, if I recall correctly, was quite cliffhangery. It was quite a sudden finish, so I'm hoping we'll see a chapter 2.
Cool, yeah, because it's got quite a compelling little story going on as well at the same time.
It's genuinely interesting. The bad guy, or one of the bad guys, is bad. Really bad and really enjoyable to finally take down.
In a pixelated type way.
Indeed.
Yeah. So the other game that I've been playing that's reasonably recent is My Friend Pedro, and this is basically like a physics platform game where you play this guy who's being spoken to by an imaginary banana, and basically has to just kill every fucking thing in the room. The kind of thing about this is that you've got like a slow down button, but you've got like a kick. And it's also, as you play, it's quite a long game actually. There's quite a few levels, and it does really lean into its platforming later on, in some weird ways, and it takes you to some very far out places. There's also a few bits where you're like, on a moving vehicle, or you'll just be on a bike or something, or you're actually in a car or on a motorbike, I think, and you're just shooting things all around you and stuff. So it's got the pace of like a fairly modern action game. But you do get to do some incredible gun ballet, like, because there'll be bits where you have to like press the spin button to basically dodge bullets, whilst sort of flying up in the air, upside down, locking onto one enemy whilst shooting another, and kind of in slow motion. So you're actually spinning quite a few plates by the time you get a little way into the game. But yeah, if it's on sale, I recommend it. There's a bit more to it than you might think. You know, it's quite a decent, substantial package for a game that I think I spent less than £10 on.
I think it was one guy developed it, I believe. He had help with the music, but did the whole thing himself, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably helped by an imaginary banana.
Yeah, possibly. The one thing, I'll just mention a couple of other little things that I played on Switch. Cuphead, I finally got round to.
Too hard.
It is very hard, but
it's unforgiving. It's just.
I know what you mean, but I tell you what, I got through and I did all of the. Well, because at first, you can do the boss, because a lot of it, there's a couple of like traditional platform levels that I've played so far, but the majority of it is just boss fights, which I'm not a big fan of. I'm a fan of the art style though; it looks lovely.
It's beautiful.
But all of the levels and the bosses, there's 2 difficulty settings, and at first I was like, oh god, I've heard this game is hard. I'll play it just on like the novice level. But in order to actually finish the game, you have to finish them all at the most difficult level. So really, I was wasting my time at first, and I won't be doing that anymore. Yeah, it's just there, I think, if you're a wuss, really. But like, if you want to actually finish the game, you have to play it on hard anyway. And all that it really means is that you just have to kind of just hang in there a little bit longer, which I've managed to do successfully on the first world. So I've sort of finished all that. And at the moment, I could probably leave it there. It's not like I'm that compelled to get through it, but I just like that it's on my system, just if I want to try it. It's just a nice one to have in the collection.
You've had a nice slice of Cuphead, and you've got the flavour. You know what it's all about. And you've gritted your teeth, and you've gone, okay, I understand now.
Yeah, I feel like that's enough of an achievement that I've done the first world, and like there's 3 more, so I'm like about 25% through it.
The few times I've played it, it reminded me of those god awful games of trying to stick it through those Project Raiden games. The top down shoot 'em ups with the ridiculous. Actually, no, R-Type. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, there are a couple of levels that are. Well, there is one level that is exactly like R-Type.
Well, you're just like, what the hell do I do at this point?
You can make yourself very small to when the bullet hell gets too intense.
Yeah.
You can actually shrink yourself so that you can dodge around some of it a bit more. Yeah, it's
Oh,
fucking
wicked.
intense. But it honestly though, that game is, and games of that type with that instant retry. I don't mind dying loads as long as I can get back into it immediately.
Yeah.
Katana Zero is good for that. So yeah, I honestly, it makes the commute like time travel. It really does, because you get hooked into that loop, and you just keep doing it. You keep doing it, and all of a sudden you're at home.
Yeah.
So that's good.
The Switch is wonderful for that.
Oh, it is so good. Honestly, I was standing up just tonight. I was standing up. I think I was about 2/3 of the way on the overground, and I finally got a seat. And I just stuck on Final Fantasy 12 to get past that bit I was annoyed with, where you have to go and raise your importance or whatever, your notoriety. And I got through that, and then I was at fucking Stratford. I was like, fucking hell, it's amazing. One game that hasn't really done the trick though is Return of the Obsidian, which I think we mentioned back earlier in the year when we went to the BAFTAs.
Oh, we all went. We have to try this. It's won so many awards. So you've taken the bullet.
Yeah, I've taken one for the team, and I think it's a tremendous artistic achievement and a tremendous achievement for just one guy. However,
is it fun?
No, not in the slightest. Because basically, what you're doing is you go onto this ship. And you find a little thing, you get a watch, you go up to a corpse, you press one of the buttons, and then you are then looking at a still life scene that happened at some point on the ship. Now, what you have to then do is you have to then figure out who the person was, how they were killed, and who killed them. And you do this by basically repeating that over and over. Now, the still life varies from someone getting shot in the head to, spoiler alert, a horrible big squiddy thing mantling its way over the ship, and all of a sudden there's lots of death and stuff and confusion. But for that game, for those scenes to make sense, visual sense, in two colours is incredible. And he wins totally. Artistic direction, yes, well done. Round of applause. You win. Well done. You've put other far more financed and heavily resourced companies to shame just on your own. Well done. But yeah, the act of actually going round and filling in and trying to figure out who all of these different crew people are, and there's about 40 of them. And the fact that you actually begin, I don't know if it's at the very end, but it's very near the end of this book that you're trying to fill in the gaps of. So you're kind of starting almost like at the penultimate chapter, and then moving halfway back. So I'm sure, he's trying to do this in a sort of Tarantino sort of fill in the gaps type way. And all of that's very commendable, but, yeah, it's for me, as I said, I think on the WhatsApp, it will remain to me a Rubik's Cube like curio that I may get out once in a while just to have a look at. Or maybe see if I like it again. Like olives, I try olives every few years to see if I can fucking stomach them. And maybe one day I will. Because other people like them, so what the fuck?
Return of the Obsidian. It's like olives.
Yeah, pretty much. Or Marmite. No, it's probably not like Marmite. It's clearly a lot more effort than Marmite, depending on your point of view. But then, there we go. Anyway, that's all I've got. Unless anyone's got anything else, I think you might have something, Marcus, you wanted to quickly mention.
Just a footnote. My other half has just picked up a copy of the Switch's latest game, Pokemon Sword, because Pokemon Sword and Shield was released on Friday. So she was playing that was it on Friday? Yes, it was released on Saturday. Saturday. Anyway, 15th, whatever that was.
Marcus, first question. Why are there two games, and what is the difference?
There are always two games.
Okay, why is this?
They're like the Sith. Always two there are.
Talk to me in layman's terms as someone completely ignorant.
Okay. Well, the idea is to promote trading between the two games. You'll always get variations or versions of Pokemon that won't exist in one game or the other.
Okay.
And that's purely it. Story-wise, exactly the same, everything else, but you'll get a variation of something or outright different ones in one or the other. And it's to
when you
promote
say trading between the two, is that like an online element?
It was well, back in the early Game Boy days. It was literally via
that's what I was
link
wondering.
cable. Yeah. No, you literally. I think now it's done through online and through the Pokemon system or whatever, or literally you can connect through wireless to each other and LAN. Well, yeah,
Okay.
we've swapped a few. I mean, I've got a 2DS, so the last one I played was Pokemon. Can't remember. Moon, Sun and Moon. Actually, which was the last full game I think to come out, and then they did Ultra Sun and Ultra
There really
Moon.
are always
I haven't finished
two,
it
aren't
yet.
there? That's bizarre.
Yeah, there are always two. They are the Sith. To bring it back around to Star Wars again. But but I've got to say quickly, I'm really liking the look of it. The charm and everything about this game it's pretty good. It's just a nice RPG element. It looks a bit sort of Dragon Questy in the sort of colour palette of the way the world is and stuff like that. But they recently took some elements from the Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu games that came out, which were kind of like hybrid ones. So this is the first full Pokemon game for the Switch to come out. So the elements of seeing them actually roaming around in the wild, you've got all of that. So he's just reached the part where there was an open world element where you have to run from one part to another, but the things are bastard hard level. She ran up to something that looked like an angry panda with a leaf in its mouth, and it literally looked at her, roared, and then she went up to him and went, "I'm having that." And she was level 7.
Never seen
and it
again.
was level 30. It was level 32. Yeah, but I'm literally sitting there thinking, I want to play this because it looks fun. It looks fun. You know what you're getting with Pokemon, and you get some staple ones come back, and it's all about the new weird creatures and what they turn into, and it's the surprise and all that sort of stuff. And each one is just literally like a mini RPG, and it's that element. And I quite like the look of the world and everything about it. And I don't know what the storyline is so far, because no one knows yet, because it's new. Unless I went on YouTube and it was spoiled for me.
I didn't really know Pokemon had a storyline. I thought it was just got.
Yeah, they've all got storylines. Yeah, no, they've all got storylines. There's always a Team Rocket element. There's always an evil organisation trying to enslave the world. By either unleashing whatever game's legendary Pokemon to inflict darkness and chaos and death.
That leads us nice.
Yeah, it's Japanese. Looks cute and cuddly, but there's always a dark meaning behind a lot
So
of it.
that does kind of help us segue into just one thing I was going to ask Rob, actually. So speaking of evil organisations trying to take over the world, you ordered a Stadia, I thought.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't do it in the end.
Oh, because that's just hit the market.
Well, has it though?
A bit. In the most
It's
bizarre
gone
fashion.
into...
I read the Polygon write-up on it, which suggests that it's basically a storefront, but you can't just do it like it's supposed to be done. They're trying to shift this Founders Edition, I think, probably to pay for some of the R&D on it, and that's the only way you can really use it right now. Apparently, next year it will just be a website that you can play games on your computer.
It does feel like the accountants are running it. It's it's a service where you can stream games, but you've got to pay over the odds for the game. So that game that you can buy for 20 quid on other systems, you can pay 60 quid for.
Do you think that's a factor to maybe they haven't quite got the streaming tech as smooth for a blanket launch? And it's like almost like a bottleneck gateway.
I think there may be some truth in that, Marcus.
Because if you limit the number of people that are purchasing your service, you're not going to get a full load server.
They have effectively limited their user base at the moment.
So everyone using it will go, yeah, it works fine, because you've only got 10,000 people maybe. as opposed to millions.
They are guaranteeing that user base, though, 4K, 60 frames per second, which, according to Polygon, they were not getting as a standard.
The reviews are out now, and a lot of people are saying, I reviewed this by taking it home and playing it at home on my connection. Some people have got something like I've got, so similar to what you were describing earlier, I think, before we started recording, Marcus. Basically it's the copper fibre going to the nearest connection, and then copper broadband coming through. Rob, I know you've got a hell of a connection. But I must admit, I just don't want to pay full price for games when I don't need to.
No. Especially since there isn't anything outright and the games are they're already out on a lot of systems.
And I can play those offline.
There's like one exclusive, but it doesn't look that amazing. It's like I don't even know what it is. It's called like GIST.
Google
GIST or
Employee,
it's like,
the game.
Yes, you can't even buy it right now anyway. Like all the people that decided they were going to get in on it did it, and they're doing whatever they're doing with it now. Playing Destiny 2, I guess. That's like the pack-in. It is,
which is now free to play on a number of systems.
Use case for me, especially having just bought a Switch. I'd kind of just forgotten about it. I think I'd just forgotten about it, or
there's no killer app.
I don't know. I think I just reached breaking point with the Switch. I just wanted one really badly, so had to.
The Switch has a number of killer apps. The Switch has a thing that you can't do anywhere else. And doesn't require a constant
I think it was that moment when I realised. I think it was Obra Dinn, ironically, not the greatest game I've played on it. I think that was the snapping point. Was actually, there's nothing on my Steam wishlist anymore. It's all on Switch. And there's a fucking Steam sale on effectively on the Switch. So it's got that level of ecosystem behind it already. So to me, and it was just driving me mad. Like the amount of games that I had not played this year. I was like, actually, if I get a Switch, I'll like double the amount of games I've played from 2019, probably. It's just...
It has taken me by surprise how much is getting ported over and how quickly as well.
Yeah.
I've not seen anything like it for a while.
The Switch is now becoming, bearing in mind it's the lowest tech platform out there, essentially. But I think it's just something different. It's given that niche that Nintendo have always done, which is the family platform. The platform that's also for people that aren't particularly into games. And it's doing it, but it's also seriously catering to some of the hardcore gamers.
Yeah. It's mental. I mean, you've got everything you've got pretty much most things being ported to it now. And I to be honest, I applaud them. Let the big boys kind of do their usual thing and Nintendo go off and do their own. And they know what they're doing.
I have to admit, it was a game I played so many times before for so many hours. But when I loaded up my Switch with Skyrim a couple of years ago now, must be a couple of years ago, terrifyingly. Loading up Skyrim and just going back through those opening scenes again. But whilst I was travelling to
I'm
work,
thinking of, because I still haven't played the, and I'm pleased with myself. I didn't actually buy Blood and Wine, the final Witcher expansion, and that is part of the Switcher. So I was thinking of getting it because that's a 30-hour game on its own. That's that expansion
more than that.
So I could totally justify buying Switcher to play Blood and Wine.
I'll be honest. I don't know if you recall. I think I mentioned at the podcast. I did it. I bought the expansions, but what I felt I had to do was play through the main game again because I'd forgotten how incredibly long that was. But to do that on a mobile platform, not at the expense of your home gaming, as just a way of destroying your commute, you'll be.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's going to be mad. I mean, I already do. Yeah, I mean.
You were getting different trains just to have all these.
Sorry, I ended up going via Birmingham.
It's so great. It really does speed up the commute. I mean, I must admit, sometimes in the mornings, if I've been up late playing on PlayStation or whatever, or drinking, I don't often get it out in the morning. But it invariably, on the way back, it really does just take the fucking effort out of that epic commute. I do, it really does. But yeah, no one's played Death Stranding.
Awesome.
No, and I don't believe I ever will.
No.
You know what I'll pick up first? Days Gone. I'm hankering
Yeah, I know,
for
it's
a bit
been
of
so long.
post-apocalypse, you know, it's been a while.
If it drops, like probably on the other side of New Year,
my friend.
I might dip into it.
I was almost
just to bite the bullet and let you guys know what.
I'll do the same with Days Gone.
I might do it. Not. I'm not going to put any kind of actual capital towards it because it's fucking mental. Kojima at his full, over 9,000 mentalness. You know, not held back by Sony and given all the money in the goddamn universe. I'm not looking forward to that. As an old fan of
I
his
almost
Metal Gear Solid
invited
games,
my
I'm
old
really not
housemate
looking
on to
forward
talk
to this
about that
game.
because he's been playing it.
But
I must say, there's literally nothing. I've seen a couple of videos, mostly on highlight reel from Kotaku. I've read some reviews. There's just nothing there for me.
I saw one bit that was just weird. It was this guy was just like being held upside down by his leg, and then it turned out he was being held by this. I don't know how tall this thing was, but it was ginormous. This thing just blinked into existence, and then something exploded, and then next minute Norman Reedus was on a beach, and it was all weird, and I was just like, this is like someone took all the speed and drugs.
You know, the thing that annoys me the most about it is not the fact that he seems to have just scanned in every fucking Tom, Dick, and Harry that exists in celebrity culture, but the fact that he's not mocap their voice, so they're all voiced by different random people. So, you know, you've got Guillermo del Toro there, and Conan O'Brien, and fucking whatever.
Well, Guillermo? Not Guillermo.
Yeah, I see Guillermo's in there.
And
he's
it's just
in there.
like...
He calls himself Dead Man.
There is someone called
Die Hard Man. Oh, that's a different...
No, there was someone else called Die Hard Man. Yeah. Oh, actually, was he Die Hard Man?
No, that's Bruce Willis.
No, Die Hard Man's... Apparently Die Hard...
Yeah, I just can't be asked. I know it's just going to annoy the fuck out of me.
It just says it all. The little bit I watched during lunchtime, I was getting flashbacks to Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions.
Oh dear!
Is it going to be the French man?
No,
the trade
thank
man,
you, sir.
The key man.
I shall have none of it, and none of it I shall have.
No, like I said.
Yeah. All right then.
Watch this space
I think
in the new year.
Round it off. That's a nice, neat hour there. I think we'll be back around Christmas time with our games of the year. Yeah. And until then, that's it.
Thanks for listening to the Not Playing Podcast, part of the Not Listening Podcast Network, where you can also find the Not Watching Podcast, where we talk about movies and TV, and the Not Listening Podcast, where you can hear Adam and Co. talk about all kinds of nonsensical nonsense. You can email us at notplayingpodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet at or follow us on Twitter at notplayingpod. You can find the show notes for all our shows at notlistening.co.uk, and if you like what you've heard here, please do leave us a review. Anyway, that's all for now. Until next time, bye!
With no booty, my friend, I'm inclined to agree, 'cause I suck. You suck. I suck.